All right. Well, let's see how this goes. Um, a little talking head video, and the Back to the World tour, and I'm at a waypoint. So, yeah, right now I'm at the Red Planet Hotel, and I'm so grateful for it, honestly. Um, I guess, I don't really notice how nice and structured and stable my life is until I'm away from it. And the Philippines, by comparison to my life in Toronto, is chaos. And I'm not complaining about it because it's a beautiful kind of chaos. Um, but I mean, the city is loud and it's got 16 million people in it. So that's a lot more than say Toronto. Um, but like, it is just a really big, loud, fast-paced place, and yeah. So the trip's been really challenging for me in a lot of different ways. Um, there have been things that have been just difficult situations to deal with, disappointments, and so on. Um, some things were just kind of upsetting. I actually had a stomach flu put me down for 24 hours, but it got rid of all that extra weight I've been putting on. So that was something. Um, but on the other hand, there's been some really good experiences. Like in Manila, Elric Jundis put on a sparring event. So I got to work with a bunch of people and spar with people I had known for a long time, like Joseph Elephant and James Suge. So it was nice to touch swords with them again and to fight. I got to fight some people I'd never met before. I really wish I had Jonathan here right now because he would like have all the names. But I got to work with some people and spar with some people that I might not have otherwise, and that was a lot of fun. So and for the most part, like everybody was really humble, very respectful, and that's always a pleasure to work with people like that. So that was great. Um, so then we had Russia House, and it followed its usual progression, starting with um, some work with Bobby Tuata and testing with him and his group. And Jonathan actually tested with them and got his level 3. Um, so I think I might pursue that myself at some point because I love the structure of it, and I have lots of friends in that system. So it'd be nice to spend a little time with them doing that and just getting more familiar with the system, since I have been training it a little bit every year for the last 5 years or so, maybe a little longer. But so yeah, so that was really neat. And even though a lot of it was really familiar to me because it's the same teachers, a lot of teachers go over the same material. But I had friends and students there that were seeing it for the first time, so that made it fresh. And honestly, if you're doing FMA, it's really important, I think, that you come here and you do this camp. And the reason is because Alexander Pisarkin has been bringing the grandmasters together for a long time. And what he does is you go from island to island to island, and you meet the grandmasters in their home environments, and you see that each of the islands has its own flavor. And this makes a lot of sense. If you study the history, you'll see that through centuries of raiding and centuries of colonization, there's been many influences, and those influences would have landed in different islands at different times. So of course, the Philippines, and I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but the raiding of the Moros would have influenced the people that were closest to them the most, and the colonization of the Spanish, and with the with the different mercenaries that they would have brought with them from Italy, from Germany. Those people at different times would have stayed with different tribes and influenced their fighting as well. And so you can see this when you travel from place to place, that what you see in Cebu is different from what you see in Negros, is different from what you see in other islands. So it's amazing to have the opportunity and to see someone who hasn't seen it before, who's been getting all their education in the West, and getting all their stories in the West, to be here and go, oh, okay, so this is why, we have these ideas, but actually seeing like which island that idea comes from, or whether or not it's actually consistent with the local ideas at all. But additionally for me, there was a couple of teachers that really stood out. Felix Ganabo really stands out. Last time I met him, I didn't really connect. I watched some of the stuff, and for whatever reason, I didn't really see the nuances. And this time I did, and I'm super excited that I did. Really glad to have trained with him. I'm going to be investigating that a little bit more. I definitely will be looking him up online and seeing what work he's got presented, because there are things that he introduced us to that I'm actually seeing in some of my other training, where I can see these connections, and I'm like, oh, this is very interesting. So he introduced us to several teachers that I think fall into that same category of just very interesting. So one of those instructors, was GM Navalis, I believe his name was, and he showed us classical Espadidaga that I'm definitely going to be hanging on to. Alex showed us some stuff from a classical system that he referred to as Engaño, which was very interesting because it had some details that I've seen elsewhere but this is the first time I've seen it in another art that's connected, but I know that these teachers and these locations are connected, so I need to investigate further to see that. But I'm very excited to see it. But yeah, Felix Guanabo is making these connections. He also introduced us to the Lagas Tapado group, and so I believe it was, I don't want to say it wrong, but Ronaldo Octagon is what I have on his card. I should look at it again. So this guy was very humble, very well spoken, and he showed us stuff from Tapado, which is I wasn't that interested in Tapado first time I saw it, but this time I'm very interested, partially because the group is very humble. They have that kind of humility that comes from like people that fight frequently, and people that do something where it's like, you could just tell like these guys get their hands hit a lot with like hardwood, and because they're teaching a system where it's like just very simple, all of it's center line, and it's such a simple system, but it's so very well thought out, and the more you look at it, the more like, I'm not going to say that it's the same as, but you can see how they've come up with similar conclusions and similar solutions as something that's as complex as Wing Chun. But they did it all off of one angle in like 4 moves. And it's really fascinating to see it. It's fascinating to see the humility and the consistency of their lineage, and so I'll definitely be looking at Lagas Tapado some more, especially through that lineage. It's interesting because, like I said, for me, the Russia House experience, it's like I've done it a few times, and I love it. I love coming and meeting the people and so on. But it's like, even once because I've had this happen several times in my career where it's like, you know, I've been working with the material for a really long time, and I get to a point where it's like, okay, yeah, I've seen it before, and I'm looking for maybe an interesting presentation, but then you always find these little gems along the way. Even if like the majority of the content is stuff you've seen, there's these gems along the way where you're like, oh yeah, that was awesome. And obviously there was many other grandmasters that I haven't mentioned, but these are the ones that really caught my interest this time around. But it was awesome to see everybody and touch base again. I love seeing the grandmasters, talking with them, listening to them, and yeah, it's always a good, entertaining time at Russia House. So, but yeah, that camp's over. Now I'm sitting in Red Planet, and I'm really enjoying the comfort of just being in the hotel, because it's this hotel is great. It's the same way every time. It's really Spartan. It's very simple, but it's also really solid, super clean, and quiet. It's really, really quiet, and I guess I've needed that. Yeah, it's just nice to be somewhere where I can be calm. So, because from here next, I'm going to launch into the unknown. So, partly unknown because the Southeast Asian carriers have been jumbling up things in a way I've never even seen before. I had 2 flights moved without notification, and which was shocking. So one of them canceled outright, and so we get to the airport and we find out like, oh, we're going to put you on a different plane and we'll just sort that out now. And then another one where it's like it got moved like almost 12 hours back, and I only found out about it because they sent me a notification, said that I had to check in online. But when I'm checking in online, I was like, oh, this isn't for 10 a.m. This is for 8 p.m. So it was unexpected. I had another one already changed, and they pushed it back a day, so I'm missing a day in Indonesia. But there's where the next adventure is. I'm going to Indonesia, and the lucky thing is like in Indonesia, I'm going to get to spend some time with a friend in Jakarta. So I'm looking forward to meeting Mark there and meeting his family, and going out for an evening before I head off to Sampit. Then off to Sampit to meet Damank Ahmed and the students and teachers at Borneo Silat. I'm really excited about this because I can see it's traditional Silat. It's apparently a lot of the grandmasters have decided that they're going to leave their information with this guy, so he's basically their archivist. Yeah, so he declares himself not to be a teacher. He declares himself as a student, which I get. I feel like that's what I am. You know, I do teach, but I don't refer to my students as students. They're my R&D team. So, you know, the beginners maybe are students, but anybody that gets to a level where they kind of understand my journey, they're part of my R&D team, and I'm really excited to see them. So, but I'm really looking forward to getting to Sampit, getting in whatever vehicle they're coming to pick me up in, and traveling to wherever we're going to meet with the teacher. And I'm kind of hoping, like I saw this guy about 9 months ago, and I saw him doing some sword work, and I was like, oh, that looks like it connects to something else I'm doing historically, and I need to meet you. And honestly, I would be fighting at Dog Brothers this week if I didn't make that commitment, but I made that commitment because I called him up right away and said, I need to meet you. And I said I would come at this time, and here I am. So, because I like to do what I say I'm going to do. So anyway, hopefully that turns out to be a great relationship, and maybe next year I'll be spending all my time there, trying to absorb as much as I can, and seeing if I can make those connections that I think I'm seeing. So You know, it's kind of interesting to be at this stage of the game for me because, you know, it's not really about me achieving some new level of performance because I mean I'm over 50, so I maybe I'm gonna get a little bit of more efficiency as I go along, but really like maintenance is kind of the best I can hope for, I think. But I'm really excited to connect the dots and to look at the historical influences, to look at all the things, to see that all these things that I've been interested in, whether it's Eastern or European or Southeast Asian, like and how they're all coming together and meeting, and that's what's really exciting for me. So this is my journey, and that's you know, that's what's exciting about it. So this trip, all in all, it's been hard. It's been really hard. It's been hard to be away from home. It's been really challenging at times with disappointments and being sick. There's been many times I've like thought about like, man, I just want to call this off. But then I'll see a little bit of glimmer of light, and then it's like I'll find myself enjoying the journey, and so onward I go. Plus, I said I would do all these things, so I'm going to do it. But yeah, this is the work that I do, and I really hope that that there's some people that are enjoying seeing the Instagram and enjoying the journey. But I think my greatest wish is that my students at home are kind of gleaning like how much work it is for me to do this, to bring them home the material that I'm proud to stand behind. Because when I'm teaching at home, I'm hoping that I'm giving people a little bit more than the next guy. I mean, I just hope that I'm giving them something that's inspiring and something that gives them an understanding of what the wider world of martial arts is about. Because I don't look at just one thing and say, oh, this is it. I'm trying to look at everything, reveal my sources, and say that this is the journey. It's available to you too, and that's what I'm doing. And so, you know, I can't wait to get home and share with my seniors and with all of my students, because this is the work I do, so that I can bring something back that I'm really proud of, that I can be like, hey, this is what I'm excited about. Let's take a look at this, see how it relates to things we've done in the past, and how it sets us up to look forward to the future. So yeah, little message to my students: I miss you, and I can't wait to be home to share this stuff with you. So I appreciate all the support and love that you guys have given over the years. I appreciate the support that you're giving me right now by keeping the school moving. I understand that attendance is going very well. There's always this really funny thing, like when I'm away, attendance kind of spikes, and then when I first get home, it kind of drops. I guess because people are like, okay, I don't have to, and then they realize like, oh, the new information's there. And then it sort of like bubbles up again. So, yeah, so that's the end of my almost 20-minute rant about being at the midpoint in this journey. I hope you guys enjoy it, and yeah, you know, we'll see how these talking head videos work out. But there we go. See you guys soon.